We can match the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Iceman Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And as always, I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave. And the Ice Cave is brought to you by Priority Lawn and Landscaping. If you've got any lawn and landscaping needs like grass cutting, mulch in your flower beds, rock in your flower beds, I don't know, paper patio, a retaining wall, I don't know, a fountain. Maybe you got like a fountain you want to put in or something. Anything, and I mean anything, lawn and landscaping related. Give Johnny a call at Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Give him a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can also follow them on Facebook. And when you message them on Facebook or you call them, tell them you heard about them from Sports with Strawberry Ice. What is up to everybody in the chat? We've got Brad in there, Paul Painter, and Tony Blazin. What's going on, boys? All right. I got one big guest. Neil Myers come up here in a little bit. Might have Trags on. We might have Harrison on here. I don't know. We'll see. They're kind of busy. They're trying to see if they can join or not. But the Bengals have come out and announced the Ring of Honor game against the New York Jets. Now, my question is, who do you think you guys would vote for? Who do you think should get in this year? I voted for Lamar Parrish. I voted for Lamar the last probably 3 years or 4 years. And also voted for Dave Lapham. There's lots of guys. You can get Reggie Williams, you can get in there, Chris Collinsworth, Jim Breach, James Brooks. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's a ton of guys in there. I'm wondering who you think should be the next one. Also, like I said, we got Neil on. He covers the Bearcats. The Bearcats baseball team had made the NCAA regionals, super regionals, NCAA tournament. I'm not exactly sure the total name of it, but they're in the baseball tournament, and they got an at-large bid for the first time since the 70s. So that's pretty cool. So let's discuss that and more with my boy, Neil Meyer. What's up, Neil?
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, we just had some crazy dude who popped in the waiting room here. He's got a headband on. He's walking around in Nashville somewhere. He looks lost. I need to see if he's okay. Hold on a second. Let's check out. Excuse me, sir. Are you lost? Can I help you?
I'm at Chick-fil-A, man. Leave me alone. I'm out here struggling.
Hey, they don't sponsor my show. You can't mention Chick-fil-A.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, we at Chick-fil-A.
All right. So, Harris,
I gotta order.
Order
my food.
you go ahead and you order, and I'll bring you back on. All right. Go ahead, order your food.
Hey, at least our Chick-fil-A is open down there. Ours has been under construction for what feels like 2 months now.
Yeah, it ain't gonna open up until end of August, I think.
Such a disappointment.
It is. All right, so let's talk Ring of Honor here before we jump into the Bearcats. Matt here's got Trumpy and Parrish. Who are the guys that you think should be the next two to go in, or who would you vote for?
Yeah, for me, I think there's a lot of different great options on this Ring of Honor ballot, too. I think that's a great thing to mention, but I don't think it would be right to discuss the Bengals Ring of Honor without sending our thoughts and prayers to Bob Trumpy and his family after seeing the news that he passed away earlier today. I don't think it would be right to kind of talk about this without firstly sending our thoughts and prayers and the condolences to him and his family during this time. But for me, Jeff, I think there's like I mentioned, a lot of good different options. But for me, I would like to see Jim Breach and Dave Lapham go in this year. And the reason that being is Jim Breach is the all-time leading scorer for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Dave Lapham has done a fantastic job around the program or around the franchise, everything he does right now within the organization. But also, I would still like to see our guy David Fulcher get in as well. So hopefully it would be one of those three guys that kind of makes the Ring of Honor this year.
Yeah, now with the passing of Trumpy, I could see him getting a push now, which is sad because we did this earlier. You know, he could have got in while he was still here. I already put my votes in before all this happened. Like I said, I've been voting for Lamar Parrish. I think he's been one I voted for every single time since they started doing this because he was Deion Sanders before Deion, and I don't think him or Ken Riley get the accolades. I know Ken Riley's in the Hall of Fame now, but I don't think they get the accolades that they deserve. So that's where I always went Lamar Parrish and Dave Lapham. He's Mr. Bengal, man. I mean, he deserves it. You know, I mean, all of them deserve it. They all are going to get in eventually. It's just a matter of when. And so, and like I said, we're trying to get this done while they're all still here. You know, so that's the thing. That's why I wish they would have done this sooner. But it's always interesting, and they announced that we're going to play the Jets here. I wonder if they're going to do a whiteout game, or if it's going to be a stripe game, or anything like that. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not, but it's also worth noting too. It's kind of interesting to see when you talk about this game that they are playing the Ring of Honor game at 1:00 on a Sunday. I don't know how to really feel about that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Especially not being in prime time like it has been in years past. But a whiteout for this game would be pretty spectacular.
Well, we don't have as many home primetime games. We got more road primetime games. So I think that's one of the problems. Harrison, who do you think would be the Harrison, you're on a podcast, right?
What's up?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, so we have the news came out that Bob Trumpy passed away today. I don't know if you heard that or
Bro,
not.
what?
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
When did that come out, Neil?
I saw it earlier this morning.
Oh, damn. But so when I used to work at Skyline in Trey County, he used to come in and he used to get a 3-way with mustard on it. And he would only let me make it because I put the extra spaghetti on there, extra cheese for him, and never charged him. And I think he used to drink a pink lemonade.
There you go.
I didn't even know who he was at first, like when he come in. And then they was like, hey, you know who that is, right? And I'm like, nah, like, that's Trumpy. I was like, who? It was like Bob Trumpy, like played for the Bengals. I'm like, bro, there's no way. Like he was super cool, just chill, didn't even talk about it. But when we talked about it, he had a lot to say.
Oh yeah. I always remember. I'm 50, but I don't really remember Trumpy playing. I remember him on Sports Talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got to know who he was, and then he became a broadcaster.
Yeah.
TV and stuff. So, like I said, I had already put my votes in. I voted for Lamar Parrish and Dave Lapham. Harrison, who would you vote for? I can read you the list. If you don't.
Yeah. I don't know who's on the list.
We got Jim Breach, James Brooks, Chris Collinsworth, David Fulcher, Dave Lapham, Max Montoya, Lamar Parrish, Bob Trumpy, and Reggie Williams. All of them deserve to be in.
Yeah, that's a hell of a list.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. That is
it's getting hard. I mean, it's like they all. There's not one more deserving than the other.
Nah, it's way more different than when last year was kind of, everybody was going for Corey.
Yeah.
Which was well, but that's a hell of a list. I plead the fifth.
You plead the fifth.
Yeah, I played the fifth on that. I ain't gonna say nothing on that one. I feel like they all should get it.
So tell everybody where you're at and what you're doing tonight since you're in a restaurant.
I'm in Nashville. We got a show. The mailman, he back there.
The mailman back there?
Yeah, he back there. We getting ready for the show up here in Nashville.
Is
But yeah,
is he talking stuff to you already?
he out here telling people his name, Eugene.
just say he's the Bengals mailman. I'm sure he gets free stuff.
This fool don't look like no damn Eugene.
You might. That's his incognito name. You know, he's yeah. That's so people don't know who he is.
Yeah, I got yours. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, we out here. No, I know. Yeah, I got that. But yeah, we out here. It's hot, and I'm in a hoodie like a fool.
And a skull cap. I don't.
Yeah, I mean this. See, for the wifey, it keeps the hair down. It keeps the waves down.
See, I don't have the problem. I don't have enough hair.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I was about to say I don't even think you got enough strands.
I got hair. People think I don't have hair because I wear a hat all the time. I got hair. It's glorious.
But yeah, see, I'm a Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, if you want to sponsor the podcast, you're getting a whole bunch of free advertisement now. So
there you go. See.
Now this feels better. Harrison is in the car. All right, I feel much better now. That's much better. So, all right. So with this list, I guess dwindling down. I know Bengals UK tweeted out to me that they think Sam Weish should be added to this list, and I don't disagree with them because it's getting shorter. But eventually they're going to start having to add people. Now, my thing is, Sam Weish is one that they should add from before. But you got AJ Green, you got Geno Atkins. I mean, you got guys from, that era that you could start adding. Do you guys see them adding going forward, with future guys, or trying to bring maybe Sam Weish or some other guys back? Neil, I'll let you go first. What do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely first you'll try to bring Sam Weish into this conversation, and then you bring in guys like AJ Green and Geno Atkins. But for those two guys, and Geno Atkins and AJ Green, they're not far off from this conversation, and they definitely have earned their stripes to be mentioned in these conversations. But until then, I think right now we're going to see Sam Weish get added before AJ Green and then Geno Atkins. But I definitely feel like we will be seeing those two guys' names on the ballots within the next few years, to say at least, probably the next year or two, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my concern was you start adding those guys, the younger generation, like I would say your guys' generation, know them more than you know Sam Weish or any of them. So they might jump some of these other guys that should get in still. That's the problem I think we're running to. Harrison, what do you got?
No, I mean, that will be a problem, like when you start adding our generation in there, because I don't know who Wash is. I'm just going to throw that out there. I probably should. But
he was our Super Bowl coach in '88.
Our Super Bowl coach?
Yeah, in '88.
We don't win Super Bowls, okay?
Well, so he took us to the Super Bowl, so.
Well, okay. I guess you get a pass. But I feel like we should pay the respect for the older guys before we jump into, like you said, our generation with it and everything, because they paved the path for what we got now. So that's only right that they get their respect and get their time to shine. So I feel like that's right. But when you do bring up AJ and those guys, they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, and Carl Pickens is another one I think should be added to this list too. Now Ryan here, he's put Rudy Johnson. I don't think Rudy had. Rudy was good. He had a good 2-year run, maybe 2.5. I don't know if he's Ring of Honor worthy, but definitely James Brooks. I agree with you there, and I definitely agree with you with Carl Pickens. So Rudy, I don't know if Rudy makes the list. What do you got, Neil?
I think Rudy could be in conversation for these, but I think he would be a little bit further down the line than what would be an AJ Green, a Geno Atkins, a Sam Weish, some of those guys. But I definitely feel like Rudy had a great career. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there are some other names that need to be mentioned in the conversations before we start adding a guy like Rudy Johnson to the Bengals.
Did he finish with
us? Did he? I
don't even remember his exit.
I think they cut him. I think because it was weird. He had those really good years, and then he went and lost a whole bunch of weight or something. It was never the same. So
Yeah, I don't remember his departure from the team.
that's when we started getting Cedric Benson and those guys
Right.
came in after him. So yeah, that's where I'm like, Rudy, I don't know about that one. I think that
I feel like Gio would be before Rudy.
I love Gino, but he's definitely like Gino. You're talking about Gino Atkins, right?
No, Bernard.
Oh, Gino Bernard. Oh, man. I don't know. That's another one. I don't know.
I feel like he did more than Rudy.
Right.
I would agree on that statement.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't know if either one of them are Ring of Honor members, though.
No, I was just saying if we was gonna have the conversation of Rudy, I would throw Bernard before Rudy.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with that at all.
Yeah, but yeah, they wouldn't be top. Like I wouldn't think like we gonna say them.
All right, so we got another guest in the waiting room. He is a very busy man. He covers the Reds. He covers the Bengals. He covers the Bearcats. We're going to talk about some Bearcats, too. We got Neil here. He is the man. He is the myth. He's the legend. He's Trags. What's going on, Trags?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. We're just having a Ring of Honor discussion here. And I actually, I didn't know this until Neil said it on the air that Bob Trumpy ended up passing away today.
I'm just hearing about that now.
I didn't know that. So that's
how long ago, gentlemen?
Neil said he heard about it this morning.
I thought I saw it this morning. Let me double check.
I hadn't heard that before until Neil said it. So not that I'm disagreeing with you.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, hold on one moment. I'm just
stunned.
I thought I saw that this morning. Maybe I misread it.
Well, I have not seen any news confirming that, so thank God.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. We'll see. But
so,
maybe I misread it.
It has not been reported, not been confirmed.
All right. So hopefully we just misspoke there. With that being said, though, with the Ring of Honor game, it's going to be a 1:00 game, which sucks. Against the Jets, I voted for Lamar Parrish and Dave Lapham. You know the list of people that are eligible there, Trags. Who do you think? Which I can read them off again here real quick.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I just had it and it popped off my screen. Hang on a second. Let me bring that back up here. 1 second. Here it is. We got Jim Breach, James Brooks, Chris Collinsworth, David Fulcher, Dave Lapham, Max Montoya, Lamar Parrish, Bob Trumpy, and Reggie Williams. So I voted for Lamar Parrish and Dave Lapham. Out of those, I don't want to say who's more deserving because they're all deserving. Right. They all should be in. But who do you think, in your gut, who do you think the two might be?
I'm going to say Dave Lapham, and they like going current era, but I'm going to go Dave Lapham and Bob Trumpy. Simply because I think Trump is the first greatest tight end that the franchise had, and he was a big part of what Paul Brown installed in terms of the West Coast offense early on. And in terms of Dave Lapham, he's been so much a part of what the Bengals are, their character, their lifeblood, really defining what the Bengals have stood for over 5 decades. I think he would be appropriately installed as the another Ring of Honor inductee this year. I'd like to see Lap go because he has so much personality and so much passion for the Bengals. I think that would be a great choice.
All right, so just to let everybody know, we have not confirmed this. I think Bob Trumpy's still alive. So
yeah,
we'll
might have misspoke on that one.
We'll try not trying to put stuff out there that's wrong. So at the good way, it happens. It's live show. But yeah, I voted for Lamar Parrish like every single time because I don't think Lamar Parrish or Ken Riley have ever gotten I know Ken Riley's in the Hall of Fame now, but I don't think they've ever gotten their just desserts as good of cornerbacks as they were. Because I've said this before, Lamar Parrish was Deion Sanders before Deion Sanders.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point, I stand. And a lot of people would say that Ken Riley became who he was,
right?
Because nobody would ever throw on Lamar Parrish's side. And I get that. And look, I would love to see Leap and Lamar on the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
But when you're asking me just two names,
Yeah.
it's
That's the
so-
problem I always had. I wish they'd give us more. I wish it,
But the reason they don't do that is so that they can perpetuate this and extend it for years and years and years, and that's kind of the idea of it. And certainly, this generation is going to produce a number of worthy Ring of Honor candidates. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, just to name those three right off the top, they
Right.
will be in the Ring of Honor.
Hey, Gabe, hold it.
But you could certainly make a case for Lamar Parrish. He was along with Ken Riley, two of the great cornerbacks, the first great cornerbacks in Bengal history, and he really was the first great special teams player that the Bengals had in terms of a weapon. He could kickoff return, and he certainly could punt return. He was the first best punt returner in Bengals history. So, and again, with Lamar Parrish, there was so much style and grace. I mean, I look at Lamar Parrish as the first, like you said, the first Deion Sanders, but he was Cincinnati's own. I love the old film clips, the old YouTube clips of Lamar Parrish.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, we were talking about this before we got on, is even before we get to the guys of today, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you still got guys like Geno Atkins and A.J. Green. And I'll put it out, Andy Dalton. I know people will go nuts for saying Andy Dalton, but he took us to 5 straight playoffs. I mean, he's got to be considered. But those are the next ones in line, I think, to be added before we go anywhere else. And Bengals UK has put it out there that they're putting something together, trying to get Sam Weiss added to that list as well.
I think that's actually a great call because he really reinvigorated the franchise after a disastrous 1987, the strike-shortened season. It was just such a tumultuous time, and he got Boomer Esiason right. I really think if you ask Boomer Esiason, Sam Weiss really helped, I think, refocus Boomer at that part of his career and gave him the 88 Super Bowl run, the 90 playoff season. And I think he really did invigorate Boomer Esiason's career.
I just like watching Harrison. We're just following him all around. We're in the elevator with him now.
Hi, Harrison.
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
So to educate Harrison doesn't remember who, or wasn't around for Sam Weiss. Sam Weiss invented the no huddle offense and the sugar offense and all
the sugar
all
offense.
Yeah,
Yes,
all that stuff. That's who. That's who Sam Weiss was, and that's. I mean, that goes back to the innovation of Bengals coaches in general, from Paul Brown to Sam Weiss. They invented all kinds
Bill
of
Walsh.
Bill Walsh, all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah. Paul Peters says Bob turned 80 March 6th. So, okay, again, we think Bob Trump is still alive.
Yes.
I want to keep
Thank
putting that
God.
out. Yeah, keep putting that out there.
Neil, you fired from the news.
Huh?
I said Neil's fired from the
I
news.
was probably scrolling Twitter too quick, reading stuff this morning.
That's all right. It happens. It happens. So, are you surprised? We were talking about this before. Are you surprised that the Ring of Honor game is a 1:00 game?
A little bit, because it's been a night game, a primetime game the first 4 years, 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's been a primetime game every game, every year, whenever year.
Yeah, I'm surprised. You know what? I'm surprised it's not. And I know they want to do this early in the year, and the NFL schedule makers didn't really accommodate them in that regard this year. But the Steelers game on Thursday night, that would be
perfect.
A natural fit for that event. The Steelers prime time Thursday night. But I guess the Bengals really want to get this out of the way quick. So early in the season, I don't know why that would be.
Yeah, it's always like in November. It seems like it's always.
No, wasn't it later in the year in years past?
Always in September. And
September, yes, you're right.
They want to keep the Ring of Honor game in September early in the year.
Yeah.
Don't know necessarily why that is. I'll try to do some digging.
Yeah, it's interesting because that would be a perfect time against the Steelers. That would be the one to go to. And well, is it something that you think they don't have as many home primetime games? Is that why? But this would be one to do it for.
Well, no, I mean they have just as many home primetime games. I mean, they have 2 at home, 2 on the road.
Well, I think that's maybe they
but the issue is, when are they?
Yeah,
and
true,
they're
true.
later in the year, so that's why the Bengals want to get this out. Yeah, but again, then you say it's a prime time, it's an afternoon game against the Jets. Again, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. And well, it's kind of like, doesn't make any sense what is going on with them. I'll just get Harrison out of here for a little bit because he's frozen. What they're doing with Shamar Stewart's contract here.
I wouldn't make too big a deal of that, guys. I think it's going to get done. It's happened before. It's happened with other teams. If we're talking that after the June minicamp, it's still not done, and this drags into the summer and into training camp, different conversation. But for right now, I don't think it's a big deal. And the other part of it is Demetrius Knight Jr. He does not have a contract either, but he's on the field for OTAs,
right? And
he's participating. And Shamar is in the building for the activities. He's just not fully participating in all of the OTA.
I think it's a bigger deal.
Activities.
I think it's a bigger deal for Bengals fans because we need him to hit the ground running, and we need him to make an instant impact. And the longer he's not practicing, for us, the more we get worried about.
I get that. I understand that, but again, that is more really symbolic than it is anything else. He can hit the ground running if he has a full training camp and a full mini camp. Like if he's signed and he's participating out there in mini camp, and then he's healthy and hitting the ground running in training camp, that shouldn't slow him from his full potential as a rookie in the NFL. I don't believe that to be the case at all.
Right. Now, M here says, I didn't get to read this or see this, but what about what his dad said about the contract being different from Mims last year?
The contracts were all slotted and in the first round, and they're pretty much dictated what the teams are going to sign, what the players are owed, kind of like the salary cap a little bit. But really, the negotiating is going on regarding the bonus money and how much of that money is paid to Shamar Stewart up front, and that's what they're negotiating.
Yeah, so he gets paid now. He doesn't have to wait till.
Well, what percentage of it? Because
yeah.
With a first-round pick, the entire first year of that contract is guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to worry.
And that's really that's the only percentage. That's the only thing to negotiate. Everything else is slotted. There's nothing else to negotiate in this. So it's just I just know for Bengals fans, we just want him to get in here and practice, just like we want to get the Trey Hendrickson thing done. We want to get it done. And I had Richard Skinner on, and about a week or so ago, and I was kind of like, it's kind of weird that Zach Taylor texted him, and Richard's like, well, he thinks the Bengals.
Yeah, I think that as well.
Had him do that.
Yeah.
But it was also, and what Skinny said, and it's kind of makes sense, kind of like, hey, this is the contract. We're not really going to negotiate anymore between now and minicamp. So you better get ready, or I don't know.
Well, no, and I think there has been an offer, like the outline of a structure of a deal. They're not telling Trey Hendrickson, we're not going to extend you at all.
Yeah,
what they're saying is, these are the parameters of what that extension is going to look like. Are you interested? And Trey is probably like, when his representation is like, that's not what you promised us at all. And without knowing the inner workings, it's hard to know who's right, who's wrong, what's the gray area. But I find it very hard to believe that the Bengals are playing hardball, meaning they are not going to make him any offer to extend him. I don't think that's the case at all.
It's just weird that they don't.
What do the numbers look like?
Yeah, and it's
also too, doesn't it come into consideration that he does not get fined for missing OTAs, but then when camp comes around in
minicamp,
that's when he would start getting fined.
Mandatory, and Trey Hendrickson's more than aware of that.
Yeah,
and at this point, it's a negotiating ploy to try to remind him of the fact that, you can play this game, if you want to call it a game. You can use this strategy like T. Higgins tried to use last year of negotiating before minicamp, but once minicamp comes to pass, we expect you to be there and participate, even if it's a hold-in situation. Jamar Chase did not get fined. T. Higgins signed his tender, if you recall, right before minicamp or right after minicamp last year. No, right after, because he wasn't under contract, so he wasn't going to get fined. See, the difference between T. Higgins last year and Trey Hendrickson this year, Trey Hendrickson is under contract.
Yes. Yeah.
T. Higgins had not signed his franchise tender, so there was no obligation for him to report to minicamp last year.
Yeah.
But if you recall, minicamp passed, T. Higgins signed his franchise tender, and he reported to training camp ready to go.
And that's the thing I keep going back to on Trey, that Trey doesn't have a lot of leverage. I mean, yes, he has definitely outplayed his contract, and yes, he deserves to get an extension. Yes, he deserves to get paid as one of the highest guys. Now, I don't think as much as Crosby or Miles, or not Miles, I do it every time. Miles Garrett up in Cleveland, but I do think he deserves a raise. Now, what that is and what that entails is different. And the thing is, he only leverage he has to where he wouldn't get fined is do what Jamar did and do a hold in, because he's still under contract. That's what Jamar did last year. He did a hold. Jamar was still under contract, so he could do a hold in, I guess. But that's still, I don't want that. I hope the Bengals don't want that, because we saw, look, Jamar won the Triple Crown, and I take that bet. I think Jamar could double down and win the Triple Crown again on your article there. But Jamar, the first two games, Jamar wasn't the Triple Crown winner. It took him a little while to get his head wrapped around that he's got to play in this contract. And that hurt the Bengals at the beginning of the season. We can't have that again this year with Trey.
Well, I mean, I think with a guy like Trey Hendrickson, who keeps himself in great shape, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all the Bengal fans want to know is he going to play this year?
Yeah, that's it. Just play.
And they would like to see Trey Hendrickson extended. Absolutely. But all of these negotiating ploys in the offseason, I think a lot of fans get tired of it. And Trey Hendrickson's under contract for next year. And yes, he wants to negotiate and he wants to make his argument public about why he should be paid more, why he's upset at the way the team has handled it so far. And that's why he held that impromptu news conference with us a couple of weeks ago after, phase 2 workouts.
Right.
But in the end, I think this is going to get done. I think the Bengals are going to make him a legitimate 2-year offer that he can accept. There will be enough guaranteed money in there. This is also, I think, about the Joneses. And I think he wants to get his AAV at a comparable level with other elite pass rushers. There are reports that number that is out there is $28 million from the team per year. 2 years, that's $56 million. How much of that guaranteed? $35 to $40 million. Would that get it done? At this point, it's not been enough, but maybe you get closer to minicamp, maybe you get closer to training camp, and maybe it is enough.
We'll see. Paul said you did a good job on WLW yesterday. So.
Oh, appreciate that, Paul. Thank you, bud. Cute little baby, by the way.
Yeah.
In the picture.
I think it's a grandbaby, I think. Wayne here says, let me fill you in. Deuce has prayed about it. And Mark, my words, he's prepared to sit out if the Bengals do not re-sign him. So we'll see. I mean,
I don't think he's sitting out.
I was about to say, I'm right there with
you. He
you.
doesn't get paid. He's not going to miss $888,000 game checks. I don't think so. And he knows he's under contract.
Yeah, I hope he does. At this point, I have no idea. I hope he doesn't. I don't think he's going to, but I don't know, dude. I don't think he's sitting out. I'm so, like he said, I had Gaby Sorrentino on yesterday, and she brought it up. It's like, it'd be nice to have just a normal training camp. I said, we haven't had a normal training camp since Burrow got here. It's either Burrow's hurt or this guy's not.
Yeah, but you don't want.
Not...
Hey, let me flip that to a corollary. Normal equating boring, which equates to bad. And look, covered the Patriots, as you guys know. Every year there was a monstrous offseason story. When you have greatness and when you are a team of intense interest, there's always going to be a storyline. Mm-hmm. It's just the way the business works. And so we're going to have a storyline almost every single year. It never fails. Now, if you get Trey Hendrickson extended with Burrow and T and Jamar under contract, maybe it dies off a little bit next year. But if Trey Hendrickson doesn't get his extension, then what are the Bengals going to do in free agency next year? That's what the big storyline becomes.
And put this way, I'm not complaining as much because I do a podcast every single day about this team. So having stuff to talk about all the time makes it a little easier. I know you feel what I'm talking about their
yes.
tracks. You know, you write about them and you podcast about them too. So I mean that makes this a little more interesting, but sometimes I get tired of talking about the same thing. So it just gets a little old. But I do want to change the subject a little bit here. Neil here covers the Bearcats. I know, Trags, you cover them too as well. For the first time since, I think, 2019, the baseball team has made the NCAA tournament. And, Neil, you're saying it was the first time since the 70s they had an at-large bid? Is that true?
Yeah, first time since 1974 where they received an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament.
That's tremendous.
When is their game? Is their game Friday or Saturday?
They play Friday at 1:00 versus Wake Forest in the first game of the Knoxville Regional.
How can we watch that game or listen to it?
Well, I know most people that listen to the podcast, they hate ESPN Plus because there's always some kind of difficulties with the stream and everything. But that is where you'll find the opening round of the Knoxville Regional on Friday.
The ESPN Plus. Well, especially if it's this, nothing against college students. They need to learn how to do this, but sometimes I wish they had a little more structure. Because I still remember the basketball game a couple years ago. I can't remember what college was, but the freaking camera was behind the hoop. You couldn't see the ball go in. So, Trags, have you been down to watch the Bearcats play baseball?
Unfortunately, I have not. The only experience I had of Bearcats baseball was watching them work out before a basketball game when it was really warm in, I want to say, mid-February, and they were out on the turf, and that's really the only. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to go down to Clifton and watch them.
Well, I have not. I keep saying I want to go there and watch them. I've never went down there and watched them. It looked very.
Neil, it's a great take. You know that.
Yeah. It's a great time to go watch them too, because I mean, what they're doing right now in year 1 to year 2 from Jordan Bishel, they were not far off last year from being in this position, and now just 1 year later in year 2 under a new head coach, look where they're at.
So how did they do that, Neil? How did they turn it so fast?
I think the right momentum was culture buying in. I mean, you saw what Coach Bishel was able to do at Central Michigan. He took it a MAC school in Central Michigan to 3 regionals in 5 years. I mean, that's not easy to do in itself. But then when he came to Cincinnati, he spoke about the other day that it was not a easy decision to kind of uproot his family and come down to Cincinnati. And then when they came in, it was like everybody bought in. And once they bought in, they understood the belief. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when you're watching baseball nowadays, you don't see it. But the thing that Jordan Bishel and his staff have implemented so well is they're not scared to play small ball. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to win you games is every time you watch a professional baseball game or even a high-level baseball game is small ball can ultimately win you some games. It's all about the strategy, and he's utilized that to his strength. And I think the other big thing is he's been able to have these players buy in and keep the local talent home, and that's been huge.
Well, the other thing I'm curious, Neil, is the NIL effect and impact and how much support they've received from John Cunningham and the athletic department. How is all of that factored in?
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly, because baseball scholarships, I believe you have 35 guys on roster roughly. And I think they only have like 15 scholarships or whatnot. So you're looking at most of these players being a walk-on. And a guy who's a great example of that is Carrington Cross, who just won Big 12 Player of the Year. I know.
Isn't he one of the top 10 players or top 25 in college baseball now? I thought I saw a
He's
story
up
on
for
that.
the Dick Hauser Award
Yes,
and the
there
Golden
you go.
Spikes Award as well for one of the top players in all of college baseball. And his story is just so unique because he redshirted his freshman year with COVID. Then he got told he wasn't going to travel in the fall of 2021 of his redshirt freshman season just to go out there and start every game in the spring, which is not an easy accomplishment to do.
Right.
Etches his name into history with guys like Josh Harrison, Ian Happ, Kevin Youkilis. And I mean, if you would have imagined a kid from Brownsburg, Indiana 5 years ago to have your name in that kind of conversation with those guys like Ian Happ, Josh Harrison, Kevin Youkilis, I don't think many people would have believed that being from such a small town. And he's really left his impact and his mark on Cincinnati. And by the time the season's over here within the next few weeks, he'll probably etch his name in the top 10 of just about every offensive category. And when I asked Coach Bishop about it on Monday, he said it was hard to get coaches nowadays with Trags. You will know this. It's hard to get coaches in any conference, any league to agree on just about anything unanimously.
Right.
Bishop stated, he said, well, there was one thing they unanimously voted on, and that was him being first team all conference and Big 12 player of the year, which that says a huge testament to what Jordan Bishop and the staff is doing. But not only that, but to Carrington's hard work and determination on the field as well.
Has he been signed or drafted? So obviously he is somebody that could be come July.
Could be drafted later in July. Yep. And what's unique about his story too is he's actually doing the similar career path that Alec Pierce did back a few years ago, which everybody kind of remembers that. He took an accelerated engineering path. So Alec was able to graduate with a mechanical engineering degree in just about 3.5 years.
That's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
Carrington Cross is not far behind him, even though he's now on his 4.5 years, but he is not far behind him. And there was conversations where people didn't think he was on draft radars heading into this season. And then with one big season where you're hitting almost 400 on the season and arguably the top player in the Big 12, your name's going to be on draft boards come July.
It kind of helps. Kind of helps a little bit. Trags, you got to get out of here. You got to run.
I do. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you having me on. And I'm glad Bob Trumpy is still with us.
Yes, yeah. I am too. Make sure you guys follow Trags, the Joke Aurora podcast, and all his articles on CNLS Media.
CLNSCincy.com. There you go, bud.
I got it. All right. Thanks, Trags.
Hey, Neil, thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Be good.
Take it easy.
You bet.
All right. So Brad's got a question here, and you can answer this since you covered the Bearcats, except for Trags, but he had to get going. So, Neil, what's your thoughts on UC's men's basketball roster?
Yeah, I actually think this roster reconstruction was something that was well needed. Yeah. And it's funny you bring this up too, Brad, because I was actually out shopping earlier and I was out in Kenwood getting some stuff for trying to upgrade some new clothes and stuff because I'm going to the beach in 2 weeks once I get back from Knoxville this weekend. But I was out there and I actually ran into the big man himself and Big Slime coming out of Dick's out in Kenwood. Jalen Haynes. So got to chat it up with him a little bit. Sounds like he's really enjoying Cincinnati, and he's a big guy. I mean, I don't think I've shaken anybody's hands who have been close to size like Coriante DeBerry's in years past.
They're like two hands together.
Yeah, like his hands completely swallowed mine. And he's just about up there in terms of size-wise what Coriante DeBerry was when he played at Cincinnati. And if anybody remembers that, that's a big physical presence in the post. I think that's what they needed.
All right. Are we going to have guys on the – you just mentioned him, but we have more than him because that's what was so irritating last year. We had no inside game whatsoever. Has West taken the steps to hopefully fix that problem?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's going to be interesting to see what this lineup may really look like for the basketball aspect because of what they were able to do in the transfer portal. Mustafa Cham people forget that the kid was only 17 years old last season at UCF. So now that he is in second year of college, he wasn't even draft eligible. So that's huge. But he's 7'2" and averaged nearly 11 points and 7 rebounds and 2 blocks a game. While he was a very efficient player in the front court, he was just about his do it all for UCF there. And that was a huge sight to see. You bring him in there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at the 4 position. Now that you have a guy like Jalen Haynes, who we mentioned earlier, you have an opportunity to kind of go multiple different ways for Cincinnati. And I feel like that's the biggest thing is they have so many options to play this starting five heading into the season. And as I pull up the roster again real quickly, I mean, your backcourt is huge. Day Thomas, Jizzle James, those two returning was never a question. But on the interior, you look down, you see you have a Halvin DeZellit, you have a Tyler McKinley, you have Jalen Haynes, you have Mustafa Sham. They have presence there in the front court.
Right.
And I think this is something that Cincinnati hasn't had in years past. In years
No.
past, you have seen your Victor Locke and your Odi Aguama. Okay, those were your two bigs.
But they
And then
weren't
on top
inside
of
players.
And then you tried the Jamil Reynolds experience. That didn't pan out. And now you look back at what they did this year. Dylan Mitchell was more of a 4. And then you had Aziz Bandaogo at a 5, which he didn't provide much of an offensive game. You knew what you were going to get on the defensive end. But now when you look at this roster in terms of this year, and there's been numbers floating around out there in terms of NIL deals, NIL roster, how much each team is paying for people for college basketball. You see a lot of these teams in the 10 to 7.5 million. I was the top 10, I believe, anywhere from 10 million down to like 8 million. UC is not far off from that top 10. They have the right funds coming in. They have the support. They have the belief, but they are going out there and spending money to get some of these players here. And that's a huge thing because in years past, they really weren't trying to do that. And now that you have the funds coming in, donors are putting in some more money and the belief is there in year 5, they know what it takes to compete in the Big 12. And that's another huge thing because the Big 12, now that you're going back from 20 to 18 conference games, it might get a little bit easier, but not much easier.
It's still a Big 12.
It's still a gauntlet. The only difference is you're not playing the 2 extra games and you get an extra bye week here and there, which is something they desperately needed. But I think Cincinnati's roster reconstruction this year, Jeff, to get back to the conversation, was huge. You go out and you add arguably one of the best defenders in all of college basketball in Sincere Harris. You go out and you get a proven wing in Jalen Celestine. Jalen Haynes is a big-time player. And the thing I really loved the most was they needed to go out in the transfer portal and get some kind of help and some kind of defensive edge. And you had that with Day Thomas and Jizzle James at times. But adding Sincere Harris and Kerr Carissa to the mix in that is what's going to take this team to a next level. Now, we've all seen the videos of Kerr Carissa over the years, but the biggest thing that stands out to me is I've seen him in person play multiple times, whether that was at Arizona, whether that was at West Virginia. He brings the energy. That is what they needed on the defensive end. And if you haven't seen it, I will strongly recommend look up Kerr Carissa versus Luka Doncic, and you will see a video of Kerr Carissa getting in Luka Doncic's face, talking nothing but nonsense, and that is something I am looking forward to this year.
Now, to help the NILs, make sure everybody drinks more Cincy Light. That helps too. But refresh my memory. Who left from last year's team? Do you have the list of people there?
Just about everybody.
Yeah.
Just about everybody.
Except for Jizzle and Day. Everybody else is pretty much gone.
Jizzle and Day were 2. Halvin DeZellit, the French transfer, he stayed. Rayvon Griffith transferred to Kent State. CJ Frederick graduated. Connor Hickman transferred to Charleston. Josh Reed is going to be playing at Penn State. CJ Anthony, the walk-on, he is up at Iona. Tyler Betsy went to Syracuse. JJ Rembert, the walk-on, is still out there. Arrington Page went to Northwestern. Dylan Mitchell went to St. John's. Seamus Lukosius and Aziz Bandaogo are exploring professional routes. And then Dan Skillings went to Baylor. So it's a complete roster rebuild.
Well, they really needed it because it just didn't work last year. I mean, they were never consistent. And I pounded the table on this. To play big boy basketball in the Big 12, you got to have an inside presence. You got to have more than one guy scoring the paint. And they didn't have enough guys who could shoot three-pointers consistently and make them enough for as many times they shot them. So that's where when the three-point is not working, you got to be able to do something else. So and our defense was not consistent. I mean, nothing was consistent on the basketball team last year. It's like it was last year. It was consistently inconsistent. And when you have that and you're playing in the Big 12, which in my opinion is top 2 or 3 conferences in basketball, you're going to struggle. And this is a big year for Wes, I think, because I think the buyout, if refresh my memory, the buyout is cheaper this year after this year, right? If it doesn't go right, is that correct? I know it's huge if they bought him out after this year or this last year. So there's a better, and I'm not calling for his job at all. I'm just saying for everybody who said they needed to fire him, I knew they weren't going to fire him after last year because the contract was too big. There's a better chance if he doesn't produce this year that possibly could happen. But I hope it doesn't. I mean, I hope he turns around. I like Wes. I think he's a hell of a recruiter. My thing, I'm not sure how much of an in-game coach he is. I haven't seen a lot of adjustments. But then you can also go and say, well, he can only adjust to what his talent can do. And he didn't have any inside presence there. But then that goes back to his recruiting. Well, he recruited him. So anyway, I just think this is a big year for Wes Miller in general. Am I far off on that, or what's your thoughts?
No, you're not far off at all. And I think that's the biggest thing that people are looking at too, is how do you make the adjustments from year 4 to year 5? And especially in the third year that this program is into the Big 12, I think that's going to be the biggest thing people talk about. And people saw the frustrations last year that they thought on paper they had the best roster in recent years, and then production was never there.
No.
They were losing games. They didn't make the NCAA tournament. This was a team that was ranked top 25. There's a lot more pressure on the program this year, to say the least. And I think it's definitely safe to say that, especially heading into year 5, because nowadays if you see a coach struggle after year 2 or year 3, they get the can.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a little bit more pressure. And I know Coach West really wants this program to succeed, and he knows the expectations and he kind of feels it. But I think that's the biggest thing, is he went out and he did something that not many other programs did, and that was a complete roster rebuild.
He blew it up.
He blew it up completely. Yeah. And that's something that sometimes you don't want to do, but sometimes it's what's best is needed to do so.
Well, I think like I said, I think he had to. It just didn't work, and it was I remember the eye-opening thing. I was surprised we lost to Villanova. That was one like, really, and we didn't look good. I was like, maybe that's just a one-off. And then I went to a game. I can't remember what school it was they were playing, but they beat them, but they weren't looking that good. That's where I kind of going, I hope this, maybe we'll see. And then to be in the top 25 and then just basically fall flat in your face when the Big 12 started was just not a good look. It's very hard to recover from that. That's why I don't think he had a choice. I think he had to blow this up. He had to, because I do think he feels the pressure. I do think this could be it if he doesn't make the NCAA. In my opinion, he's got to make the NCAA tournament this year. I think if he doesn't, I think it's gonna be awful hard for them to keep him. Let's see here. Get a couple of comments here. Paul, Wes had a lot to do with last year's failure. Sorry, Brad, but I think he lost the locker room. You're in the locker room. I don't know if he necessarily lost the locker room or not. I just don't think it works. What's your thoughts on that? Did Wes lose the locker room?
Wes didn't lose the locker room. I think that is pretty easily to come out and say these guys wanted to be here. They wanted to play for him. The relationship with Coach Miller and staff there, it was always there. It was just simply production on the court was not translating.
I didn't see him ever give up. Like, to me, if you lose the locker room, you see guys give up on the court. I never saw the guys give up.
And this was a group of individuals too. There was never any fighting or screaming. Right. Or anything like that. Like, we've seen locker rooms get blown up.
Yes.
And that was the first year under Sat after the Fickle departure. We saw that.
Yeah.
But this was a completely different. They were buying in at practice every day. They were fighting hard. They were playing till every last whistle, giving 110% effort. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. Play styles didn't mix together. And
that's a perfect way to put it. Exactly. That's what I've been trying to, although my words have been trying to put together. Their play styles didn't fit in this whole, what Wes wanted to do and what they could do didn't fit, I don't think, at all. And that's why he had to blow it up. So, Brad's got another question here. Neil, did Wes force most players to leave?
Don't think so. I don't think he forced most players to leave. I know there was a couple of guys that had options to come back to Cincinnati after speaking with some sources, speaking with some people close to the program. I know Rayvon Griffith had an opportunity to come back. Tyler Betsy also had an opportunity to come back. Tyler Betsy just wanted to be a little bit closer to home, which made complete sense, is why he's now back at Syracuse, which is not far down the road from being from Connecticut. And then Dan Skillings, that wasn't forced. He wasn't forced out either, for people thinking that. I think it was just definitely another situation where Victor Locken was a good example of this in 2023. They just needed a fresh start.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I think that's what was happening with Dan. Obviously, you saw the social media stuff. That gets to players. That gets to young adults like myself, young college players. You kind of see that. But not only that, Wes Miller and Dan Skilling's relationship, for people who don't know, will be something that Dan remembers for the rest of his life. Like, they will be in genuine contact for the rest of their life. And that's just because Dan Skillings and Wes, that was Wes's first big time recruit was Dan. I know Dan's opened up to me personally on some podcasts about what that relationship meant. Wes flew out to his family's barbershop out in Philadelphia with Dan, sat down with his uncle who owns a barbershop. Not many coaches do that. Not go to their place of employment and kind of sit down and get to know their whole family like that. And Wes actually frequented Dan's uncle as his barber. For those people who kind of want to know the real story there, you don't see that often. That shows the genuine relationship they had. But I think it was just Dan just needed a fresh start coming off the knee injury. You saw the social media things. That eats away at people. And sometimes a fresh start's needed.
I just think Dan was kind of in the – if he stayed, it was kind of the same as Simas Lukosius. Simas didn't take that step that we all thought he would. He was, one of our consistent scorers the year before, and then last year he was non-existent. And that's kind of the route I think Dan was going down. And sometimes that's what's sometimes good about the transfer portal. Sometimes kids just need to hear a different voice, need to play in a different offense, need just something else to try to get what's in there out of them. And that's might be what Dan needs. Because it's Skillings, Simas. That was when I was shocked, to be honest, that he went backwards last year, and that was the other surprising thing about last year's team, that they were on a team before, didn't really improve. I mean, Jizzle improved sort of, but he still didn't take that big of a leap that I think this team needs him to. To me, Jizzle James needs to be the guy. That's what they didn't have, the guy last year, and hopefully they'll have that. This coming year. Last year, it's because you always need to have that guy who's going to keep everybody under control, who's in charge on the court, and who can make that, take the shot, make the shot. That's what I think Jizzle could be this year. Hopefully, that's what way I envision it. Do you think there's anybody else on this roster that coming in might be the guy, because other than Jizzle?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what highly touted recruit Sean Abayev comes in, because we've seen the recruits, we've seen the videos. He could come in and he could be that guy.
Good.
But it's going to be interesting to see what the envision is like for Wes Miller playing with these guys, especially a new roster. I mean, it's safe to say you'll probably see him playing 25 minutes a game, especially when you're a top 20 recruit. You come to these schools to play right away.
Right.
And obviously money talks nowadays as well, but he had plenty of opportunities to go to SEC programs, Big Ten programs all over the country. Came here because he felt like it was the best fit for him. And I think that is huge. That could be a guy that steps up and takes a big responsibility. But also, Jizzle James, once he got over the mind hump last year in about January, that's when things started trending. And I know he was dealing with a lot of stuff off the court. Prior to that, he welcomed in a child. That's not easy as a young 19-year-old kid. So once he kind of got that kind of mindset back and knew it was just kill and go eat, which is the mindset he usually uses, look what happened. Cincinnati was playing some of their best basketball. But that's when guys around Jizzle wasn't starting to kind of contribute to their abilities as well. That's when the CMOS started falling off. Dan started falling off. Dylan Mitchell started falling off at times. There wasn't much offense around him when Jizzle James started to get going. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest thing. But I think right now your two biggest scorers you're going to look at are going to be Jizzle James. Mustafa Cham will be a big time scorer for Cincinnati in the front court. and then potentially Sean Abayev as well. I think those are going to be your 3 key scorers to start the season at least.
There you go. All right. I appreciate you coming on, Neil. So the Bearcats baseball plays Friday at what time again?
They play at 1:00, and I'll actually be live in Knoxville with all the coverage as well. So you can find me over there on all the social medias and whatnot, and I'm sure we'll have some great content coming out of the weekend.
So go watch ESPN Plus, which we all hate. But if you want to watch the Bearcats, you watch them, and then go follow Neil on their road. Now, answer me this question: and I don't know this for sure. How does I know they have regionals and super regionals, and then the College World Series? How is that the way it goes? How many teams are in this? And all that real quick before I'll let you out of here.
So there's 16 regionals that 4 teams are in each regional. So an example, Cincinnati is playing in the Knoxville regional, which the number 1 seed is Tennessee. The number 2 seed is Wake Forest. The number 3 seed is Miami of Ohio. The number 4 seed is Cincinnati. No, vice versa. The 3 and the 4 are switched. Cincinnati's the 3 seed. They play the 2 seed. They play Wake Forest. Miami plays Tennessee. So basically, if Cincinnati wins versus Wake Forest, they'll play the winner of Tennessee, Miami. And then it's just a best of kind of a round robin tournament there. It's double elimination in the regionals. So everybody will get to probably play everybody once. But then after that, the winner of this Knoxville regional will play the winner of the Clemson regional. And that turns into a 1 head-to-head 3-game series to go to Omaha.
Okay. Yeah, it's always hard to pay attention to. We never really had a college team in there. I watch it, but I don't really watch it that much. I'll watch more of it now since the Bearcats are in there. But I'm always curious of how they lead up to because they don't. It's not like the NCAA basketball tournament or the college football tournament now that you're in one tournament. You got to go from here to here to here. Then you get into the actual College World Series. So it's interesting. Neil, I appreciate you, man. Tell everybody where to follow you real quick before I let you out of here.
Yeah, so you guys can find me over at MeyerNeil6 over on Twitter. The Bearcat Blitz podcast with Russ Heltman, the Front Office News, a.k.a. Cincinnati Rivals. And you can also find me on the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast with JT Smith and Alex Meacham.
There you go. Appreciate you, brother. Go follow him and go Bearcats. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Follow Neil. He does a great job. Trags is always awesome. I appreciate everything they do when they come up on the show. Thanks for watching. I've been live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch. You can follow me on all those along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Tomorrow, I got a big show. I got Carl Pickens, who I think I actually told him he was on the list for the Ring of Honor. I was wrong. He's not. He should be. I think he'll be one that they add next, hopefully. But he'll be on the show with me tomorrow. I know he's coming to Jungle Jam next month, so I'll get to hang out with him there. So join me and Game On G Money as we interview Carl Pickens. I will be pulling off the sound later on tonight. If you want to hear anything about how we messed up and somehow thought Bob Trump passed away, but he didn't, you can check it out. It's on the podcast on Being Pod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Leave a 5-star review and a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. And shout out to my sponsors. They are as follows. Priority Lawn and Landscaping. If you guys need any lawn and landscaping done, a paver patio done, your flower bed mulched, I don't know, you need some flowers planted, you need some shrubbery planted, you need anything. You got this like really great idea for a landscaping idea, but you just can't figure out how to do it or how it would work in your yard. Do me a favor. Think Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Give them a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can call them, and you can also follow them on Facebook. And when you do, you call Johnny, or you follow him on Facebook. Do me a favor. Tell him you heard about him on Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, shout out to T Properties. Quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And, of course, Meyer Window and Doors and more. You check them out at MyersCincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. I say this all the time. I got them in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours. They're energy efficient, easy to clean, great looking windows, and you can meet one of the coolest guys around, the originator of Jackpot Joey, Matty Myers, and the Jackpot Joey Mobile. You talk to him about Bengals. You talk to him about Ohio State. He's not a Bearcat fan. You know, talk mostly Bengals. You talk to him mostly about Bengals. Or you talk to him about windows. He likes talking about windows. You can go there. He gives you free estimates. It's Meyer. Window, doors, and more. MyersCincinnati.com. All right, boys and girls, thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Like I said, Carl Pick is on the show tomorrow. Remember, who dey for life? Throw it up. That's your sports, baby. See ya!
Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's good delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's good delight.